All of Canada behind you, standing with the...
All of Canada is behind you and with you with unlimited bags of cash. Mark Carney went to Europe and did a speech, and he's back to saying rupture. Absolutely broken. The United States is no longer our friend. We're ruptured straight down the middle. And US integration, oh, that is terrible. We need to get away from all of that. China and EU, best friends, best. We are the most European of non-European nations. And the international world order will be built out of Europe. Now that he has his majority, he runs directly to Europe and says it's time to join. I thought we wanted to be our own sovereign nation. Did you vote to join the EU? Let's get into this report. If you appreciate my content, make sure you smash that like button, leave a comment, and yeah, I published a video. Look at this. There's like no views. Go ahead and check this video out. China cars coming to Canada do not need to have a Chinese label on them. We're going to start things off with another $270 million to Ukraine. Every time that these two start shaking hands, it costs us billions of dollars. We have people that are homeless. We have people that are starving on the streets. 2 million Canadians visit the food bank regularly, and we're sending our money overseas.
Sir, Ukraine, fairly significant announcement today. What's that going to buy?
Well, there's a system. It's actually, we started ramping up a little more than a year ago, it's basically the prioritized military equipment for the Ukraine. So it's prioritized by Ukraine. The Pearl acronym is prioritized Ukrainian, and so there are a series of packages that are made available. Canada has participated in a number of them. They're not divisible as packaged. You can't send part of a missile system. You have to send the whole thing. And with this money, we're going to be able to complete one of the packages with some Nordic partners, with Belgium and others. So the President was not surprising. President Zelensky was grateful. I'd stress a couple of things, and then I'll hand back. The first is that the munitions are being made available. Munitions, a broad, loose term, being made available by the Americans.
Hold up. What did he just say? The ammunitions are going to be made available by the Americans, so we're sending America money? I thought this was elbows up. I thought it's a rupture. We're done with the U.S. He slipped up in this press conference. The money is getting sent to Trump.
Being made available by the Americans, it's a question of financing and getting them there. We're doing that. We're getting them there. That's the first point. Second, we had made a commitment earlier this year in February, $2.4 billion for Ukraine, Canadian. So this is part of that overall commitment.
You know what the problem is the public is in the dark. We have no idea where this money's getting spent. There's no audit. There's no line items. It's just, here, take this money and then just go away. It's incredible. This is basically what's happening here.
Today, we announced $270 million of new military support to Ukraine. Thank you, Canada. This is crucial. Let's put this support where it belongs. Let's wash it clean.
And guess what? Chrystia Freeland's on the other side saying, thank you for the cash. Boom, it's gone. And you're not going to believe this. Mark Carney actually believes that every single Canadian backs this guy 100%.
All of Canada behind you, standing with the...
Now we're going to take a look at Mark Carney's speech this morning. And I have to warn you, we are the most European, non-European nation. The only nation invited to this summit outside of Europe. When you voted, did you vote to join the EU? Let's take a look at his speech. There are lots of items that you're going to be shocked when you hear them.
I'd like to say thank you again for the invitation. I do think that it is fitting that Canada is the first non-European country to join this forum, as we are the most European of non-European countries. We share a triple alignment of history, of values, and trust. Our histories are deeply intertwined. I'll refer back to the water analogy that we just witnessed with the opening ceremony, but it's personified by tens of millions of Canadians of European descent, including more than 60,000 Armenians. Our shared values are born of that common history: freedom, rule of law, democracy, pluralism. And these values shape our relationships, determine our priorities, and point to our common future. Canada has consistently stood up for these values, including in recent years, from our membership of the Coalition of the Willing as one of the largest per capita contributors to Ukraine, to our leadership of the NATO Brigade in Latvia, our intensifying cooperation with the Nordic countries, UK and Germany, on Arctic security, and our role as the only non-European participant in the European mission in Armenia. We're demonstrating not just the strength of our values in defending the rules-based international order, as you rightly mentioned, Antonio, but also the value of our strength. And that's necessary because the world is undergoing a rupture across several dimensions: in technology, in energy, in commerce, and geopolitics. Integration is being used as a weapon by some, and the rules are not constraining the hegemons. Now, we have to actively take on the world as it is, not as we wish it to be. We know nostalgia is not a strategy, but we don't think that we're destined to submit to a more transactional, insular, and brutal world. And gatherings such as these point to a better way forward. I think I'll close my remarks with a few observations on strategic autonomy, recognizing that security and prosperity today extend well beyond the traditional areas of food, energy, and defense, important as they are, to include space-based communications, semiconductors, digital sovereignty, critical minerals, independent payment systems, clean energy, and vaccines. And our strategic imperative is to build these sovereign capabilities with the most trusted partners, and that creates enormous opportunities for partnership between Canada and Europe. We view ourselves as highly complementary to your economic and security goals. That's demonstrated through the work we're doing with the presidencies on the new EU-Canada Strategic Partnership of the Future, building deeper relationships from digital to defense, supply chains to security. We're honored to be the first non-European country as part of the EU SAFE initiative. We would observe that in the last year, we have struck $18 billion worth of critical minerals deals across 20 of the world's leading critical minerals. The way to look at this is we are warehousing these to look for government-to-government deals with our close partners and under the rubric of the G7 first and foremost, but then more broadly. We're working with European partners across the technology stack, from hardware, cloud infrastructure, artificial intelligence, and space. And as we'll discuss later, we are an energy superpower, third largest oil producer, fourth largest natural gas, largest hydro renewable base. We're committed to addressing climate change while providing reliable, affordable energy to our citizens and partners. In closing, we're here because of your invitation. Again, thank you for that. But we're here because of the moral and security imperatives of our cooperation in the Caucasus, in the Baltics, in Ukraine, across Europe, and also because of the immense potential for our partnerships to build a better, more prosperous, sustainable, and just world for our citizens. And I'll close with this. It's my strong personal view that as the international order will be rebuilt, but it will be rebuilt out of Europe. And so I'm very appreciative of the symbolism of this invitation. Thank you.
The new vision of the world is going to be built out of Europe. We're going to take a look at Europe's economic growth. But first, what about the United States, the #1 economy in the entire world? You know, Donald, he goes to Europe. Every time he goes to Europe, he goes and he cozies up with his European buddies. Remember Davos and his speech? He basically pokes Donald Trump in the eyes. He does the same thing again with his new speech Do you think we're going to get the very best deal with the United States after he goes to Europe and does this? This should concern all Canadians. By the way, if we decided to stop trading with the United States tomorrow, that's $1.2 trillion worth of trade back and forth per year. 75% of all our trade is with the US. We can't replace them. They're irreplaceable. We need to figure it out. We can't just join the EU. This is absolutely insane. We're going to bring things back at home. You're not going to believe this. Mark Carney will not commit to a new cross-border pipeline after Donald Trump paves the way. Let's take a look.
But this expert says a new pipeline to the BC coast is nowhere close to being operational. Trump is dangling the possibility of moving Canadian product quickly and cheaply, and she expects the industry will jump at the chance.
We have an opportunity to be an energy superpower, but instead we're choosing to be an energy colony of the United States again.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, meanwhile, wants to sell more energy to the Americans.
Let's be clear, we're never going to cut our American allies off of our energy.
The Trump administration is warning Canada against using energy as leverage in the CUSMA review. But with the president's tariffs pummeling Canadian steel, autos, and lumber, that's exactly what the government is preparing to do.
They're preparing to do? Are we listening to this? We have no pipelines to the East Coast, to the North, to the West. All our pipelines are going to the South. This is a homemade problem. So if he's going to stand up and say, we're not going to trade any of our oil to the United States until we figure it out, first we need to send our oil to other markets. This is like self-sabotage to the very next level. Strengthening our ties with Europe makes zero sense.
I tell you, there are some problems in dealing with the Europeans. Former central banker Mario Draghi, European central banker, former prime minister of Italy, much like Mark Carney, in many ways a kind of an Italian mirror image, has said that the EU has huge productivity problems, needs desperate reform, and if it doesn't deliver that reform, it's going to be left behind. And in many ways, you cannot compare the technological advances, the business advances coming out of the United States and China with Europe. Europe has been left behind in many ways. If you ask Mr. Draghi, if you ask a former French finance minister, Bruno Le Maire, who is Macron's former finance minister, by the way, for 7 years, he calls the EU a monster in need of reform as well. So there are some troubles there.
Some troubles. Europe is collapsing, and we're going to join a collapsing society. Mark Carney wants to join this 0.9% growth. Germany 0.9, Italy 0.8. We're seeing a lot of zeros. If we join and then they have more regulatory bodies to tell us what to do, I thought we wanted to be our own sovereign country. We're going to be joining zero growth. This is absurd. I don't know about you, but I'm North American. I don't want anything to do with Europe. But here we have Mark Carney explain why we should join the EU and strengthen economic ties.
Another question, follow-up for me, and then my colleagues have a question. It's just on you being here, Canada being here, with that family photo. We've heard a lot about this. Why so significant for Canada, for you to be here and, as you say, deepen these relationships? Because it does, if you turn back time maybe 12 months, it might look a little unusual. It's getting more normal. But why in your mind, in 2026, is this so important?
Well, a couple of things, Graham. A lot's happened in the last 12 months, and some of it we saw coming, but more of it has occurred. And the importance of alliances with reliable partners, deepening those alliances has become ever more so. I list very quickly all the ways we're working with the European Union already. Right here in Armenia, as monitors, only non-European country doing that. We're the only non-European member of SAFE, which is a defense arrangement very good for Canadians, Canadian business, because it makes us stronger. We have these partners we can work directly, good for our businesses, defense businesses there. You asked about Ukraine. We're a coalition of the willing. It's not exclusively European. Australia and New Zealand in that as well, but it's effectively a European plus Canada, those other two countries coalition. So close work there. Straits of Hormuz, working very closely there. G7 French presidency. I mean, there is a series of linkages here from security through to economics that are being reinforced. We're working in real time. Look, I'm out of Canada for, I don't know, 36 hours, including a chunk of the weekend. By the way, thank you for coming along and blowing your weekend as well. It's an incredibly, I mean, this is important, but it's also an incredibly efficient way to spend the time. Thank you.
Let's bring it back home. The PBO has come out and reviewed the spring budget, and it's like our debt per person is going to explode in just 5 years. We're going to be owing $33,000 per person to $38,000 per person, and just the debt service is going to increase from $1,400 to $1,900 per person just to service our national credit card. But that's not the most shocking part. The most shocking part is she has zero idea what all this new debt is going to give us. There's zero clarity.
That federal debt per Canadian will rise from $33,592 this year to $38,295 5 years from now. Per the spring update, federal debt charges per Canadian per year, the interest cost of that debt, will rise from $1,409 to $1,901. Separate from the sustainability question, I'll turn to the government priorities. In the update, its own update, it speaks to key themes raised in November of 2025 in the budget: productivity, housing, defense, and major projects. The spring update provides some metrics on progress, but few critical paths, few mention of risks, and specific objectives. The update instead introduced a range of new and rather undefined priorities, strategies, and general objectives that similarly would benefit from greater accountability, details on governance, and other aspects of planning that would inform Parliament as to what results the government is targeting for that spending. The Canada Strong Fund is a leading example from that list.
This is one of the most informative 2 minutes and 40 seconds. John Brassard discussing the importance of open and transparent committees. We got to check this out.
I do want to answer the one question about collaboration. I know. Look, we all saw Steve out there talking about the last year. There's been collaboration. To the Liberals, collaboration is a one-way street. And if you look at what happened last week, they waited till the writs dropped. They moved closure on that motion. The motion was voted on, and within 5 minutes at the Ethics Committee, they came in and shut down debate on the motion. So, when Canadians elected government a year ago, it was based on a minority. And over the last year, we've seen a lot of work at committees. We've seen a lot of things exposed because the opposition had the majority, just like we have over the last 2 terms, right? If it wasn't for the committees, the Winnipeg Lab scandal would never have happened. The We Charity scandal would never have happened, would never have seen the light of day. The ArriveCan, which I referred to earlier, which has the potential through Prescribe IT to be the same type of scandal, all of those things came as a result of committee oversight and committee work and being able to produce documents, compel witnesses. We even had one of the ArriveCan people appear at the bar. If it wasn't for the work of committees, we run a risk now of everything being moved in secret. We also run a risk of not being able to get to the bottom of things as the Liberals control it. They will have many procedural tools in their box to shut down committees' work, to move things in secret, to adjourn debates or adjourn meetings with this newfound majority, and to water down motions. And this is something that all of us need to keep an eye out. When you saw some of these motions, and I've referred to Dan Mazur's motion. Look at the original motion and look at the motion that came out of in camera. You'll see how significantly it's watered down. So Canadians aren't going to get the answers that they deserve. Parliamentarians aren't going to get the answers they deserve because of what they're doing to committees right now. So it's time, as I said at the beginning, that Steve McKinnon, the House Leader, either puts up or shuts up. If he's sincere in what he said, he will let the committees do their work and move motions as appropriate.
Is there a good use of going in camera? Like, what would, in your mind, be a proper use of in camera versus not?
When we're planning meetings, when we're talking about witnesses' appearance, when we're drafting reports before they're presented to the House, that is a good use of in-camera meetings. Abusing in-camera meetings to disrupt the work of parliamentary committees is not a good use of it. Moving things in secret in a parliamentary democracy is never a good thing for transparency, accountability, and oversight. This is not a Brookfield boardroom. This is a parliament, a parliamentary democracy, and Canadians deserve to know the answers. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
All I have to say is if you're a Liberal supporter out there, how could you justify a Brookfield boardroom where they could shut the door and cover everything up? We need a transparent government. They serve us. They don't serve themselves. That's it for today's report. I don't know about you, but I don't want to join the EU. I don't want to join anything. How about we just remain Canadian? Why don't we work out a deal with the United States? You know, 75% of our trade goes to the US. Instead of poking Donald Trump in the eye and saying, look, he doesn't want to work with us. I think it's the other way around. We're not working with them. It's becoming evident that is the case. It's based on facts. What we're seeing is we're not negotiating in good faith. We're going to Europe and saying we want economic ties with the future of the world is with Europe. And forget the United States. Is that the best way to do this? I'd love to hear from you in the comment section. All right, I'll see you on the next report.